The Nutcracker. A big shout out to Ellie, Idama, Angela and Katerina for requesting today's story. Snow dusted the streets in soft white layers as the last afternoon light of December faded from the sky. Inside the Stahlbaum household, warmth and music floated through the grand rooms. The great Christmas party, an annual event that the entire town looked forward to, was nearly ready to begin. Garlands draped banisters like living ribbons, and the enormous evergreen tree stood crowned with a glittering star. Clara Stahlbaum, a girl on the edge between childhood and the first hints of maturity, ran between the parlors in a swirl of excitement. Her brother Fritz thundered behind her, waving a wooden sword and announcing imaginary victories over invisible enemies.
Look out! Oh, I'm gonna get you.
In the corner of the drawing room, their parents murmured final instructions to the servants, ensuring that every ribbon and candle was placed just so. They turned when the bell chimed at the door. Guests began to arrive in clusters. Family friends wrapped in furs, children in crisp holiday clothes, neighbors bearing gifts and warm wishes. The house filled with the delightful chaos of greetings, dancing children, laughter, and music from the small quartet hired for the evening. But for Clara and Fritz, one guest mattered more than all the others: their eccentric godfather, Herr Drosselmeyer. When the clock struck 7, the doors opened once more to reveal him. Drosselmeyer swept into the room like a gust of winter wind, cloaked in mystery. One of his eyes was covered by a small patch of tinted glass, part decoration, part tool, part enchantment, if one believed the rumors children often whispered. The children crowded around as he opened his long velvet bag. First, he lifted out a magnificent clockwork doll. It wore a miniature soldier's uniform. A wooden ballerina followed next. She spun gracefully in perfect circles, propelled by the gears within her chest. But then, Drosselmeyer produced something simpler, humbler. A wooden nutcracker shaped like a little man, with painted eyes, a proud moustache, a soldier's uniform, and a levered jaw for cracking nuts.
This, my dear Clara, is for you.
Clara's eyes widened in delight. She had always loved toys with stories hidden behind them, and something in the Nutcracker's expression captured her heart instantly.
Why does she get the best one?
It isn't best.
But Fritz had already grabbed it from her hands to test its jaw. He tried to crack a large walnut. The Nutcracker's mouth snapped shut and broke.
Fritz! I didn't mean to.
Her brother lifted the Nutcracker, now missing part of its jaw, and looked suddenly guilty. Clara turned pleading eyes toward Drosselmeyer. He examined the wound with exaggerated seriousness, then smiled.
A simple fix. He will recover by morning, I think.
Relieved, Clara carried the Nutcracker close for the rest of the evening. The party glowed with music and dancing. Clara joined her friends in circling the Christmas tree, watching as candles were lit along its branches, bathing the entire room in warm light. But even through the joy and festivities, her thoughts remained with her Nutcracker. When at last the guests departed and Clara's parents bid her and Fritz to bed, she hesitated.
May I keep him with me tonight? You may keep him in the sitting room. But it's late, Clara. Tomorrow is Christmas.
Clara didn't argue, but when the house fell silent, she crept back to the tree.
I'll stay with you until you're better.
The clock chimed midnight. A strange flutter filled the room. The candles flickered, shadows stretched, and Clara blinked up in surprise as the Christmas tree seemed to grow taller and taller until it towered like a gigantic forest canopy above her. The ornaments ballooned into enormous baubles. Or was she shrinking? Before she could decide, a rustling sound echoed behind the presents. Dozens, then hundreds, beady-eyed mice wearing tiny scraps of armor, wielding makeshift weapons. At their head strode the Mouse King, with 7 gleaming crowns upon his 7 heads. Clara gasped and backed away, then felt movement in her arms. The Nutcracker stirred. Slowly, impossibly, he rose from her grasp, growing to the size of a boy, then taller still. His wooden features softened into lifelike ones, though his posture remained soldier straight.
Stay behind me!
Clara, trembling but trusting, obeyed. With a commanding shout, the Nutcracker summoned an army. The toy soldiers Fritz had played with earlier sprang to life, marching in crisp formations. Drums beat, trumpets sounded tinny yet fierce. The battle began with a flurry of scrambling paws and clacking boots. Clara clutched the side of a chair, watching as the Nutcracker fought valiantly. The Mouse King charged with all 7 heads, snarling. When the Mouse King cornered the Nutcracker, Clara acted on instinct. She seized one of her slippers and hurled it with all her strength. It struck one of the Mouse King's crowns, and in that moment of confusion, the Nutcracker leapt forward and defeated him. The mouse army scattered into the shadows.
You saved my life!
Before she could reply, a warm golden light enveloped him. Wood became flesh. The stiff soldier movements became the grace of a noble prince. Clara stared in astonishment.
I was under an enchantment. A spell cast by the Mouse King's mother transformed me into the Nutcracker that you so dearly held tonight. Your courage has freed me, and for that you have my gratitude.
Come, and let me show you the wonders of my kingdom.
The room shimmered. The giant tree dissolved into a glowing pathway of frost-covered branches. Clara placed her hand in his, and together they stepped into the swirling light. The world around them transformed into a vast, crystalline forest. Every tree branch sparkled under moonlight. The ground shimmered like powdered diamonds. Snowflakes drifted through the air, not randomly, but in sweeping, choreographed patterns. From between the trees, the snowflakes, graceful maidens of frost, emerged. They danced around Clara and the prince with fluid, swirling movements, their feet never sinking into the snow. Clara felt no cold. Instead, a gentle warmth settled in her chest, carried by awe and enchantment. She had never imagined such beauty. The snowflake's queen appeared atop a rising flurry, her gown trailing into spirals of frost. With a sweeping gesture, she opened a shimmering gateway of snow-laden branches. The Snow Queen nodded in farewell as Clara and the prince walked through the swirling portal, vanishing into silver-white light. They emerged into sunlight, golden, warm, and deliciously fragrant. She stood in a valley made entirely of sweets. Rivers of caramel flowed past sugar crystal rocks. Trees bore candy fruits, and flowers blossomed in petals of spun sugar. Far beyond, rising from hills of cake and chocolate, was a radiant palace carved from pink and white confections. A fanfare of trumpets sounded, light, tinkling notes as though played on peppermint flutes. A procession of courtiers approached. Each figure seemed shaped from a different dessert: marzipan pages, gingerbread guards, and sugar glass courtiers who shimmered like stained glass. At their center walked the sugar plum fairy, delicate and regal.
Your Highness, You have returned, and you bring a guest of bravery and pure heart.
Clara curtsied shyly as the fairy reached for her hand.
We owe you gratitude, child. Without your courage, the prince might still be trapped. Please, I only helped my friend.
Then let our celebrations honor you both.
They led Clara and the prince into the palace's grand hall. The guests took their seats as the celebration began. First came a group of dancers, costumed like crimson-wrapped chocolates, moving with fiery energy. Their sharp footwork echoed the snap of breaking dark chocolate, and ribbons trailed like sweet-smelling smoke. The lights dimmed, and dancers in soft, flowing veils stepped forward. Their movements were languid, hypnotic, like the rich aroma of brewing coffee rising through the air. Their performance felt warm and exotic, swirling like steam from a copper pot. Bright bells rang as dancers in vibrant silk costumes performed sprightly steps. Their movements were precise and light, matching the delicate fragrance of jasmine tea drifting from porcelain cups. Next, a thunderous rhythm shook the hall. Dancers leapt with astonishing height and speed, embodying the fierce joy of traditional folk celebration. Their kicks soared, their jumps cracked like sparks. The sheer energy was contagious. A trio of flute-like dancers in pastel colors skipped onto the stage, weaving in and out like playful breezes. Their delicate harmony created the sense of sugar reeds swaying in a gentle wind. The floor trembled as Mother Ginger entered. With a sudden flourish, children known as the polichinelles tumbled out from beneath her skirt, dancing with mischievous cheer. Clara nearly doubled over, laughing at their antics. As the festive dances ended, the hall's lights brightened into a mellow gold. Petals drifted from above, and the flowers of the kingdom, roses, lilies, peonies, appeared in cascading formations. Their waltz was elegant and serene, filling the hall with fragrance and sweeping grace. Finally, the petals parted to reveal the dewdrop fairy, who danced in radiant spirals, each step scattering droplets of glittering light. The hall fell silent as the sugar plum fairy stepped forward. Her cavalier joined her, bowing with courtly grace. Then the music began, celesta notes ringing like tiny enchanted bells, delicate yet resonant. The pair danced with breathtaking harmony. Clara watched in awe. Never had she seen anything so graceful, so impossibly beautiful. The sugar plum fairy approached Clara once more.
Our celebrations honored the bravery that restored our prince. And now, dear Clara, it is time for you to return.
You have given me more than you know. I will never forget your courage, Clara, wherever you go. My gratitude follows.
Clara's heart tightened. She didn't want to leave. Not this kingdom, not these wonders, not her prince friend who had become so dear. The sugar plum fairy touched Clara's hand, and warm light enveloped her. The palace, the dancers, the prince's earnest face, all began to dissolve into shimmering mist. Clara blinked. The fire in the hearth had burned low. The Christmas tree stood in its normal size, ornaments still and silent. In her arms rested the Nutcracker doll. Clara sat up, unsure whether she had truly slept or whether magic had merely carried her back to the moment she left. She rose and held the Nutcracker toward the tree's lights. His eyes seemed brighter than before, as though hinting at a secret only she now understood. Her parents found her moments later. They tucked her back into bed, and Clara lay awake for some time, listening to the soft hush of snow falling outside. She wondered whether she would ever see the prince again, or the sugar plum fairy, or the land of sweets. But as dreams curled around her and sleep finally settled in, she felt certain of one thing. Magic had touched her life that night. And magic, once seen, never truly disappears.